간지러워. 키캣! 나 등 좀 긁어줘. 안녕! Today we're going to be learning about something that'll be really useful to your Korean. But first, I need to say that this will be an intermediate level grammar lesson. So before learning this lesson, make sure that you're first familiar and comfortable with using the regular 고 shipda form, as well as conjugating verbs. Okay, let's get started. Before we learn about the form for this lesson, let's learn about one of the most common and useful ways that you'll see it. Take the stem of an action verb, then attach 고, followed by shipo, hada. Then conjugate the verb hada at the end however you'd like in your sentence. Now, this form looks a lot like the regular form 고 shipda, and it is, but it's a bit different. The regular 고 shipda form can be used to say that I or you want to do something. For example, 가고 싶어요 means I want to go. However, there are some important exceptions with this regular form. 고 shipda cannot be used when you're speaking in the third person. What's the third person? Well, the first person is just talking about yourself, so I or me. The second person is when you're speaking directly to someone else, so you. And the third person is any time that you're speaking about someone else. This could be he or she or they, or just anyone besides I and you. So that means that you actually shouldn't use the regular 고 shipda form whenever you're saying he or she wants to do something. So this sentence here that uses the third person would technically be incorrect. 철수는 가고 싶어요. 철수 wants to go. Now, it makes sense, but it's not the correct way to speak. Instead, to talk about someone else who wants to do something, use the form 고 shipo hada. This is the same form as 고 shipda, but with hada attached to the end. So we can make this sentence. 철수는 가고 싶어 해요. 철수 wants to go. Now, why is that? Well, in Korean, it's thought that you can never know 100% what a third person wants or feels. So if you were to say 철수는 가고 싶어요, it would mean that you somehow knew exactly that 철수 wanted to go, which isn't going to sound natural. So this new form, attaching hada to the end, changes the meaning of the verb and lets us do that. Okay, let's look at this new form. Conjugate a descriptive verb as you normally would, using the stem and attaching a or all, etc. Then attach hada. Now, notice that there's no space between the conjugated verb and hada, but the verb shipo hada that we just saw is an exception and does use a space. This is just a small detail. Okay, so what does this form look like and what does it do? Well, remember how I said that in Korean, you can never know 100% what someone else wants or feels. So if you wanted to say that a third person, someone else, is sad, but you're not 100% sure about it, you can use this form. For example, you can say that you're sad like this. 저는 슬퍼요. I am sad. However, if you wanted to say that someone else is sad, you could use 슬퍼 하다. 철수는 슬퍼해요. 철수 is sad. Before I give you a few more examples, let's talk a little bit more about what this form actually does. By attaching hada, meaning to do, onto the end of a descriptive verb, this form actually changes that descriptive verb into an action verb. But not only does it change the descriptive verb into an action verb, it actually also changes its meaning. The hada attached to the end changes the descriptive verb to literally mean something like to feel descriptive verb. For example, 슬퍼 하다 doesn't only mean to be sad, but instead can also have the meaning of to feel sad, kind of like to behave outwardly as if sad. So if you say 철수는 슬퍼해요, you're expressing that 철수 is feeling sad. and you're guessing that because you think maybe he also looks sad. Now, this isn't the same as saying that someone looks a certain way, it's just to help you understand the form. This form therefore lets you make assumptions about a third person's wants or feelings without being 100% certain of them. So let's take a look at a few example sentences using descriptive verbs. 마크 씨도 김치를 먹어보고 싶어 해요. Mark also wants to try eating kimchi. 잭슨 씨가 많이 기뻐해요. Jackson is very happy. 아이는 무서워했어요. The child was afraid. But wait, we're not done because I said that this form actually changes a descriptive verb into an action verb. Now, that allows us to do a few more things than we could before. Because what else can we do with action verbs that we can't do with descriptive verbs? Well, for starters, you can use the verbs you created with this form to now make commands, just like an action verb, like saying don't do something. For example, if you wanted to say don't be sad, you could say this. 슬퍼하지 마세요. Don't be sad. However, you can't use a descriptive verb to make a command, so saying this would be incorrect. 슬프지 마세요. You can also use the progressive tense, just like you can with any action verb. For example, 지민 씨는 힘들어하고 있어요. Jimin is having a hard time. Literally, 힘들다 means to be difficult or to have trouble. Anyway, this lesson isn't about all the ways to use action verbs, so I'll just leave it there. And one more thing. Although you should use this form in the third person, it's actually okay to use it in the second or first person too, if you really want to. I don't recommend doing this, but just keep that in mind in case you see it. And that's all for today. You can also learn more about this topic in the extended PDF version of this lesson, which is available to download for free on my website. Thank you for watching. And remember that new videos are posted here every week, so if you like what you see, click subscribe. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.
거기 말고 좀 더 위에. 좀만 더 왼쪽으로. 아니, 오른쪽. 거기. 좀만 더 세게. 더 세게.